All right, guys, we're back. We're back. Welcome to the live hour, guys. Welcome to the live hour. Today, I've got a few things for you guys. It's going to be a bit chatty today. I want to talk about this Canada China deal announced just last week. And Mark Carney has also announced today that he's getting a deal where Qatar is going to invest in Canada's major projects. That was announced today, and I want to get your thoughts on that today. And McCartney spoke about this new world order, this new world order that is developing. I want to get what is your read about this new world order? What did you take from that? What did that mean to you? I want you guys to get in the comments. Everybody is welcome. Get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts about this. What is this new world order that Marconi was referring to? I want to get your read on it, and then we'll talk about it. We'll break it down today. Obviously, I have my perspective. I always come to these shows with my perspective, but the hope is that you will come with your perspective as well, and maybe we'll meet somewhere in the middle. Maybe you have a point perspective that changes my mind on what I think here. But get in the comments. That's the whole point. And the other thing I want to link this to is essentially, do you think that McCartney has he been proven right or wrong in his handling of Donald Trump? That is also something I want to get to today. So, so let's start with this deal that Canada has just signed with China. I want to get your read on it. Are you Hey Maple Boy? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Maple Boy. Um, so Maple Boy says I think it's happened. Um, you think he's talking about the partnership around the world? Okay, correct me if I've misread what you've written there, Maple Boy. Maple Boy says he thinks that the New World Order is referring to the partnerships around the world. Okay, okay, that's a start. Here's my perspective, Maple Boy, and you can tell me if this is your read as well. My read is this. I think that I mean, okay, yeah, that's what Maple Boy is saying. So, I mean, there are lots of people, lots of my friends on the right that would like to say this means that Makani has sold out to China. That is a lot of the interpretation that I've seen online and so from some of my friends on the right. This means that Canada is becoming communist very soon. You know, so not to be dramatic at all. But here's what I'm gonna say about this. Yeah, here's what I'm gonna say about this. Oh, Abby, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Abby. So the question we're kicking off the show is McCartney has said that. Sorry, no, McCartney said there's a new world order developing, and people, some people have gone crazy and being like, the new world order while you're hugging the Chinese. This cannot be good. Canada is going to hell in a handbasket. Canada is turning communist. And I want to get your read. What was your interpretation of McCartney's new world order? Because it's weird that a term that has been around for over 100 years, over a century, is suddenly getting this much attention. I don't know if it's just the media doing a little up just to get ratings up or something, but this term has been around for 100 years or something. Certainly since World War I. And now it's like everybody, you can't get enough of people. People think it's like a gotcha thing. You just be like, they just like be like, oh, it's World War. It's a new world order. What is going on? Uh, Maple Boy says that's not true. I think you mean in terms of your interpretation of saying that people are saying that Canada sold out to China. Maple Boy also says the right is Peranos. Sorry. Okay. Okay. I don't know if that French. I don't know what Perano means. Maybe you can help me out, Maple Boy. Anyways, so in my opinion, I I I'm very I think it is very simple. I think people are overcomplicating their interpretation of this new world order. In my opinion, I think that Makani was simply stating the obvious, which is the fact. And this is a fact. This is not even Makani putting a meaning on something. This is not even me trying to interpret anything. It is the reality of things, in my opinion, um, or by my interpretation, it is the reality of things that the status of international trade around the world is being changed, right? That is fundamental fact, right? The United States has long occupied a certain position in the world in terms of trade and in terms of security. It the United States has now decided that they do not want to occupy that position anymore. This is not even this is not partisan, this is not anything made up. This is a fact, right? The United States is looking to restructure trade, which you've seen with tariffs. They're looking to restructure security, which you've seen with their overtures towards Greenland, the way they have handled the EU. This is all fact. This is all public information. And so it's kind of weird to me that it seems like I don't know where, like people. It's almost like people just awoke to the realization, or maybe because that term is so fancy, New World Order. It sounds epic and crazy and fleshed up. For some reason, that seems to have gotten people like, what is this New World Order? Especially you put that in a situation where Makani is shaking hands with the Chinese president. Well, then that is a travesty. The Canada is the United States' greatest ally. How dare Canada be shaking hands with China? But that is a fact. The current world order as it is being reshaped. It is being reshaped. That is just a fact. I don't know. Maybe there's an interpretation of the world order that I'm not understanding here, but it seems simple. It seems so simple. Maple Boy says, I mean, um, okay, so you think that there is something that that the right is imagining or assuming that is what they're doing here. I can't say I understand it. I can't say I understand it. I've got to be honest. I can't say I understand why there's so much of an uproar over the word over those words, New World Order. It is just a fact. But here's what I want to know from you guys. This country has chosen to get into bed with. I want to know how you guys feel about this. Marconi has chosen to get into bed with China. He has chosen to get into bed with Qatar. And I want to get your concerns. You guys get in the comments. Let me know, what are your concerns in terms of this relationship with China in this moment. Again, I have my opinions on this, and I've put this in a video for you guys already. You guys know me. I have very much said you can walk and chew gum at the same time. That is my opinion on this. I welcome your opinions. Maybe you change my mind. Get in the comments. But I think you can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can admit that China is very much a security risk in certain regards, and say, okay, there's avenues where we can collaborate, and that should be okay, right? There's also, it's not just China that people have a problem with. People are saying, well, Qatar, why should Canada make a deal with Qatar? Okay. Well, and a lot of what people are saying about Carter is, well, Carter has these human rights violations, and so we shouldn't make a deal with Carter. Well, again, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can criticize their human rights record, and even then, here's a question I have for my friends out there, for you guys. Give me a country in the world. Give me countries in the world that you would like Canada to trade with, that have clean records for all time. I mean, tell me one country in the world that you can say, you know what, they have clean records. They've never had a history of anything. Those are the people we should go trade with. And that is why you start to see that these are kind of like you. I think Canadians have got to stop clutching their pearls about everything. I want to get back to the comments here, and all you guys can get in the comments as you come in. Just get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Maple Boy has done exactly that. So Maple Boy says, so far Carney has done good in my opinion. I think this trip has been a good one for Mark Carney. I mean, I don't think that many people where it was one of those where they under promised, and I think this trip is turning into one where they're actually delivering on something. I think the deal with China was a good deal. And we can come back and talk about that deal actually, because some people are saying, well, we sold out our electric vehicle manufacturing, we sold out our automotive industry, and for what? Some people are saying this means that Mark Carney is pitching one side of the country in Saskatchewan against Ontario. Well, that is the next place. That is the next thing I want to talk about. But I want to finish Maple Boy's comment. Maple Boy says, building factories that will create jobs and lower tariffs on canola. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about this deal that Canada has currently got with China, right? Canada, in return for yes, that, and you're right, Maple Boy. Canada has offered China a quota, which is what coincidentally what I said last week. Actually, when we're talking about what kind of deal, when we're building up to this trip, I said that the kind of deal I would make with China is one where I give them a quota. And that is exactly what Mark Carney has done here. So I can't fault him with that because that was my logic in terms of the kind of, hey, Fox Club, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, buddy. So just to recap, just for Fox Club, I want to give you a sense of what we're talking about here, Fox Club. Yeah, I hope you had a great week, Fox Club. I hope you had a great week. But here's what I'm saying here. What is first of all, the first question I asked today, when Marconi said there's a new world order forming, this is a term, as Fox Club has pointed out in comments recently, this is a term that has existed for 100 years. It seems obvious to me that a new world order is developing right before our eyes. We see that the United States has taken a different perspective towards its allies, towards its trade policy, towards its foreign policy in many regards. It seems obvious to me that there's a new world order. But that term seems to be freaking people out. So I want to get your thoughts. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Maybe I don't understand people's interpretation of this new world order. Somebody help me because I don't understand the craziness that is going on out there over the term new world order here. I don't get it. And in terms of trade, there are people saying, well, Canada should not be getting so close to China. Canada should not be trading. It should not be getting close to Qatar. And I said, well, give me a country in the world that has a clean history, and maybe that is the country we will go trade with. Because I can tell you that right now, even the United States, you would argue, doesn't necessarily get off clean, because you could argue that the president of the United States is currently using undemocratic means, undemocratic means to persecute a certain demographic that doesn't agree with him politically, because a lot of what is going on with ICE is targeted, and you can see this is targeted towards the blue states. I mean, a person got shot, and there's a whole debate about whether that person deserved what they got or not in the media. I think not. I think there was better ways to handle that. But you could argue, just on the face of things, based on what maybe majority of Canadians will believe about this incident, that the United States doesn't have a good human rights record right now. So people like to clutch their pearls and talk about how China has a terrible human rights record. They have terrible labor whatever. But beyond that, it's also, can we afford to be this kind of, I don't know if nitpicky is the right word. Can we afford to can we afford to be to be these people right now, this judgy right now. Can Canada afford that? Because I've said before, we're currently in a trade war with the top three economic, well, three of the top economic powers in the world, with the United States, with China, and with India. That is not sustainable. Anyways, I want to get back to your comments. So that's just a breakdown of what we've been talking about so far. Um, Okay, Fox Club says I do have the book H.G. Wells wrote. Okay, I haven't read that book. Maybe you can drop a title in the maybe we should start a book club, guys. Maybe you can drop the title of that book by H.G. Wells in the comments there, Fox Club. Thank you very much. Maple Boy says, and anyways, the car here are made in the US, and it's an over dramatization is what Maple Boy is saying. So here's my thing. Let's get back to talking about this China deal. I think this was a great deal. I think this was a great deal because contrary to the you to borrow the words that Maple Boy has used here, contrary to the over dramatization by Doug Ford and the auto sector, Canada did not just grant China unfettered access. The 100% tariffs that we apply on the Chinese made electric vehicles still exist. The only thing is that those tariffs start to apply after you go over 49,000 vehicles. I mean, that number escalates to about 70,000 after 5 years. But that 100% tariff still exists. It still exists. It's simply is the simple situation is they've got 49,000 cars that they get to bring in at 6.1%. After that, they pay 100% tariffs. What's wrong with that? In exchange, Canada has received restored access to the agri-food industry there. We've received access to that industry over there. That's a $4 billion industry to Canada. What's wrong with this deal? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And people like to say, well, does it not hurt our auto sector, which is also a big industry for us? Okay. Technically, I, I don't know, Fox Club, you probably know better than this. You're an Ontario guy. So tell me, how, tell me if Canada has I mean, if Canada has a as booming and even maybe I'm just hallucinating all the way from BC here, but I don't see this EV industry that we're trying to protect, guys. I know the Trudeau government invested a lot in batteries and in plants towards like EV manufacturing, but I mean, even with a 3% access to the market, if 3% access by Chinese made vehicles is enough, and if that is enough to threaten this EV industry that we're trying to protect, then maybe this EV industry does not deserve to exist. Maybe it does not deserve to exist, right? And the problem with the EV industry in Canada I mean, there's a bigger problem here, which is the fact that their sales have been plummeting, which is why it didn't make sense to keep the EV mandate on like we had earlier, right? Which is why Mark Carney dropped the EV mandate for 2026. Their sales were plummeting so much so that it didn't make any sense to keep the EV mandate on. So, I mean, if your goal is to prevent Chinese made EVs from coming to Canada, maybe you can believe that, you know what, nobody wants these cars. You can like to believe that. Maybe nobody wants those cars. Maybe the Chinese will send 49,000 cars and nobody will buy them. Maybe that's what you want to believe. Anyways, but there has been talk about whether Mark. Okay, so Maple Boy says if we don't diversify, we'll be worse later if we and we will let Trump walk all over us. I believe that, and I'll tell you why I believe that in a sec. I'll tell you why I believe that in a sec. But before I get there, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this idea. Some people are saying that Mark Carney, in making this decision, is pitching Saskatchewan against Ontario. I think that is absolutely unfortunate. That's an unfortunate take because nobody nobody has really acknowledged that over the last year, Mark Carney has allowed the canola industry to suffer while trying to protect. I mean, realistically, Mark Carney could have made this deal with China last year. Think about that. He could have made this deal with China last year. He tried to make the deals he could with the United States. When that failed, he's heading now into a negotiation with the United States, knowing that he has no cards. He made the decision now before the Kuzma negotiations arrive to protect to take the deal that exists currently with China and for a deal that does not exist, that is not currently on the table for orders from the United States. What's wrong with that? That's not that's not Mark Carney pitching Ontario against Saskatchewan. I think that is just logic. You take what you can, knowing that the United States is choosing right now to be whatever they're doing right now. I can't say I understand it. I can't say I understand it. And yeah, so Foxcroft says, I believe big changes could happen in Ontario. Maybe, and I don't think that would be because Mark Carney has done something sacrilegious that the United States views as a red line. Maybe they do. Maybe they turn into a red line because everything is a red line. You know what I learned today? I learned today that apparently the United States, one of their trade irritants is that Alberta doesn't buy enough electricity from them. And I was like, okay, so that's only the 50th or something. At some point, it was about drugs. At some point, it was about borders. At some point, it was about all the million things that has been. Sometime at some point, it was about dairy. Now it's about electricity. And the whole thing is Montana is apparently upset with Alberta because during off-peak season, the Alberta prioritizes local generation of electricity, and the Montana seems to feel like they should be able to sell electricity to Alberta as much as they want. And this is something they're bringing forward as a trade irritant because they feel like it is anti-competition. It makes like at some point you're just like, guys, make it make sense, you know. Fox Love says, I question whether Ford could win the next election. I think that you are underestimating Doug Ford there, Fox Club. The first thing you gotta consider is where is the opposition? Who is the opposition? Right? If there is no opposition, Doug Ford is savvy enough that he is able to. He is the master. I call Doug Ford the master of the snap election. He picks his moments to perfection. And if the opposition continues to be as shit as they've been so far, I mean, you're not getting rid of Doug Ford, my guy. I apologize, but it's just what it is. Fox Club says, didn't they just stop heroin from coming into Canada from the United States? I did not know about that. I did not know about that. But I know the United States sends us a lot of exotic things, guns included, sometimes illegal immigrants. It would not surprise me if heroin was in there as well, to be honest. It would not surprise me. But, the United States continues to pile on all these different things and say, okay, this is why, this is why, this is why, this is, and you're just like, guys, I mean, imagine someone telling you that, okay, imagine you go to a restaurant and you're like, you know what, I only want to eat, $25 worth of food. And they're like, yo, well, this doesn't work for us because we actually have $50 worth of food in our restaurant. Why don't you buy that? Like, what is wrong with you, man? Anyways, um, here's why. Here's why I think that Mark Carney making a deal with China now is probably a good decision. And why, to be honest, maybe this is an unpopular opinion. China is probably a more reliable partner right now than the United States. There, I said it. And I'll tell you why. The United States, I'll read you something right now. The United States has just announced that it would impose 10% tariffs on European countries that oppose its decision to try and take Greenland one way or another. President Trump announced this today, and I'll read you, or was it today? I don't know exactly what day it was, but sometime this weekend. I'll read you President Trump's post on Truth Social. He says, "We have subsidized Denmark and all of the countries of the European Union and others for many years by not charging them tariffs or any other forms of remuneration. Now, after centuries, it is time for Denmark to give back. World peace is at stake." Of course, it's world peace. I mean, they they find like some sort of justification. This time it's world peace, guys. China and Russia want Greenland, and there is not a thing that Denmark can do about it. They currently have 2 dog sleds as protection, one added recently. Only the United States of America under President J. Trump can play in this game, and very successfully at that. Nobody will touch this sacred piece of land, especially since the national security of the United States and the world at large is at stake. On top of everything else, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, and Germany Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland have journeyed to Greenland for purposes unknown. This is a very dangerous situation for safety, security, and survival of our planet. So he's threatening them with violence there. Clearly, if that wasn't clear, he's threatening NATO allies with the survival of the planet. That is what the president of the United States put out there, posted. I'll go on. These countries who are playing this very dangerous game have put a level of risk in play that is not tenable or sustainable. Therefore, it is imperative that in order to protect global peace and security, strong measures be taken so that this potentially perilous situation ends quickly and without question. Again, threatening his allies. Starting on February 1st, 2026, all of the above mentioned countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Netherlands, and Finland, will be charged 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the United States of America. On June 1st, 2026, the tariff will be increased to 25%. The tariff will be due and payable until such time as a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. The United States has been trying to do this transaction for over 150 years. Many presidents have tried, and for good reason, but Denmark has always refused. Now, because of the Golden Dome and the modern day weapon systems, both offensive and defensive, the need to acquire is especially important. Hundreds of. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest of that. But Donald Trump, who many of my friends many of my conservative friends would like Canada to continue to pander to, has just threatened his NATO allies. This is Vladimir Putin's wet dream right here. Like, Vladimir Putin ever wants to jerk it to some absolutely sordid material. This is what Vladimir Putin jerks it to. He jerks it to exactly this post by Donald Trump. He's like, wow, this is kind of thing that changes lives in Russia, guys. This is kind of thing that makes China just like absolutely blow a fat load. Because what the fuck? What the fuck is this? This is what I'm saying. Like, you guys, right? I can't, like, I'm speechless. I'm speechless. This is actually the first time I read the post through. I saw he had said that he was imposing 10% tariffs on these EU countries. I knew it was going to escalate, but to read that live in front of you guys now, and I'm just like, what the actual fuck? What the hell, guys? No, and this is the person that my some of my conservative friends would like Canada to continue to stake our auto industry on. They're like, oh, we shouldn't make. Oh, Tankon Ku, welcome to the show. Tankon Ku. Okay, let me go to Fox Club says first. Um, Okay. Maple Boy says China is the second best trading partner. They are second largest trading partner. Not the same. Largest and best is not it's not quite the same. Tankon Q says all Europe and NATO can only send 27 soldiers to protect Greenland, not 27,000. The Spartan can't even fill up the school bus. Are the 27 okay? Are the 27 soldiers there for a fishing trip? At the same time, as I said, this right here is Vladimir Putin's absolutely a wet dream for Vladimir Putin, right here. NATO allies fighting one another, and here's why I think that some of my friends who think that Canada should live and die by the whims of the United States. I think this is where they miss out. I'll point out something that a lot of people have not noticed. Two of the countries that are currently on that list, the UK, well, I guess the EU is not I guess the EU is not a country, but the UK and the EU have trade deals with the United States, right? They've signed tentative deals that are currently being implemented with the United States. And yet, the United States has violated said deals in order to impose, just out of nowhere, just because you disagree with the United States, Donald Trump is imposing 10% tariffs with a potential to go up to 25%. That is not a reliable trading partner, guys. That is not a person that you can engage with, knowing that they are engaging with you in good faith. What is to stop if Canada signs a deal with the United States today? What is to stop him from going? You know what? In the process of negotiating Kuzma, we would like, half your country, half your fresh water, or whatever. We would like unfettered access. We would like to send hormone-fed beef to your country, unfettered. And there's nothing you can do about it. If you say something, 50% tariffs. What is to stop him from doing that? And that, to me, is why this deal with China was so important right now. That is why it was so important right now. Donald Trump has said he does not want our cars. So there is a chance that regardless of what you do, you will not find a deal to make to be able to get tariffs once Kuzma, whatever happens with Kuzma, you might find yourself paying. Technically, we actually have 25% tariffs on Canadian cars going to the United States right now. We do. The only respite that we have is that because we have Kuzma, we have kind of been sheltered from some of the brunt of that. So the United States has just applied 10% tariffs on regions, on the UK, on a country like the UK, on the EU, when they already have a deal with the United States. And they say, oh, and these Americans, a lot of these Americans are saying, well, Canada has betrayed them. Canada has chosen to side with China. Okay. The United States has clearly decided it wants its allies to go elsewhere. Now, here's what I think this whole Greenland thing is about. Beyond, I have no doubt Donald Trump wants to buy Greenland, but I think he does want to buy Greenland. But I think Donald Trump will settle for a dissolution of NATO as well. Again, wet dream for Vladimir Putin over here, because I think that Donald Trump truly believes that, you know what, these NATO countries are not paying their fair share, which is fair, which is true, Canada included. They're not investing to the extent that they're supposed to, or that was agreed to, on defense. Canada is stepping up on that now, obviously, and obviously Europe has obviously been working on their rearm Europe thing on their side. Okay, so Tankonku says all Europe and NATO shows very clear to the US how serious and convincing they can. Okay, so you're saying all of Europe and NATO needs to show to the US how serious they are and convince them that they can protect Greenland from China and Russia. You know, you know what? Isn't Alaska closer to Russia than Greenland is? I'm just saying. And the whole protection idea actually falls on its face when you realize that for probably almost a while now, I don't remember the exact dates. Denmark has an agreement with the United States that allows the United States put as many military bases as they want in Greenland. They can put as many military bases as they want there. So if this was about protection, you can put as many military bases as you want there. That is the agreement that the United States currently has with Denmark. So this is not about protection. That's what I'm trying. That is what I'm trying to tell you, Tankonku. This is not about protection. It is not. There are some conspiracy theories here. Some people have said, well, Donald Trump is probably working with Vladimir Putin, and he's trying to distract NATO so while he takes the whole of Ukraine in the process. That kind of thing. There's some conspiracy theories around that. But I don't think this is about. If this was about protection, as I said, he can put as many military bases as he wants in Greenland. Clearly, this is this. I don't know if this is about. I mean, this can be about a whole bunch of things, but this is not about protection. That is my point here to make to you. But I think that the United States, if they cannot get Greenland, they will settle for a dissolution of NATO. I think that is what Donald Trump might be edging towards here, because the moment the United States. Okay, so Tankonku says the UK only sent one soldier to Greenland. I feel for him. I hope the rest speak English. No, I don't. They didn't send those soldiers or to Greenland to start a war with the United States. To be fair, it was, and I don't think anybody, to be honest. Okay, you're saying Fox Club is saying what happened to the CANSOC deal. Is that you mean Canada, UK? Canada's deal with the UK? I don't know what happened to that one actually. I don't know. I don't. I should look into that, Fox Club. I don't remember if I've seen any bit of news on that. That you're right. It would be logical to start with the UK as one if we were making international trade deals, right? It would be it would be logical. Anyways, but I think we already have an arrangement with the UK, so maybe a trade deal with them is not as urgent as some of the others that we're pursuing at the moment. That would be my thought there, folks club. But back to what Tanganku was saying, I don't think that this was about going in and starting a war with the United States. I think okay, so Fox Club says I believe it was UK, Australia, and NZ and New Zealand. Ooh, okay. I will look into it, Fox Club. I can't say I'm familiar with that particular deal. I can't say I'm familiar with that particular deal. So yeah. I don't think that this was about starting a war right now with the United States. I think they think this is they I think Europe is looking at this in disbelief a little bit. They're thinking to themselves, you know what? He's probably he just wants us to show him that we're serious about protecting this territory. He wants to show him that he wants us to show him, because it would make no sense like for NATO to be fighting amongst itself. If that ever happened, if the United States ever took it to that extent that this ends up in a war, it would be the dumbest freaking war that you have ever seen. And the United States for sure will prevail, but it will do damage that is beyond repair to whatever alliances, whatever agreements the United States has around the world. It would be stupid. It is needless. But that never. I don't know if that ever stopped them before. But I think deep down, I think this is about NATO. I think he has grown tired of saying, these countries should invest more in their own defense, and he this is just him because I think that the United States is not the president is not allowed to pull out of NATO. They're just like that. But if there is a war between the US and NATO, then of course all bets are off. NATO's done, right? That might be where Donald Trump is going here. That is my interpretation of this. I think he has just grown tired of NATO countries not contributing the way he would like to see them contribute to their defense. That is my read on this. So, yeah, what else did I have for you guys today? Yeah, I want to switch gears a little bit. If you guys still want to talk about this whole trade thing, we can. But we've got 20 minutes to go. Here's what I learned today. Okay, yeah. I will tell you one thing. Parliament is returning on the 21st of January on Wednesday. Okay, so Fox Club says, where is NATO if the US pulls all funding and support? Well, I mean, we'll find out, right? All these countries would then they'll have to sack up and focus on their own defense, Canada included. I think when we say NATO, it seems like some distant country that is, but we're talking about Canada included. I mean, of course, Canada has stepped up a little bit now in terms of funding our own defense. That hasn't stopped Donald Trump from talking about annexing Canada. But they're I mean, Europe is currently talking about rearming as well to be able to kind of grow their own defensive base. So yeah, where would NATO be? NATO would be in a weaker position for sure without the United States. It is what it is, I guess. If that is, but here's the thing. I think it would be stupid. I mean, yes, NATO, yes, is in for a rough ride. The rest of the countries in NATO is in for a rough ride if the United States pulls out. But a world without NATO is more dangerous, actually, for the United States than they realize. And I'll explain. Why. They without NATO to most people just think Europe is just a whole bunch of countries that are being spoon fed by the United States, but they are the front prong of NATO, right? They are the front lines of NATO. That is what Europe essentially is, right? The United States is relatively far away, I guess. Relatively far away. I should just put it. Let's just leave it at that. Relatively far away, right? Now, if the United States abandons Europe and Russia, for example, let's just use Russia as an example, is allowed to expand unchecked. If you realize, I mean, think about all the allies it took to take down the USSR at the size it was. If the United States abandons this alliance, they are exposing Europe to a situation where Russia is once again able to grow unchecked. That can quickly become a problem for the United States. Now, they see it as, oh, they're just, we're protecting these weaklings and we can go it alone. Just you wait until Russia expands their own sphere of influence in the same way United States is trying to do right now. In the same way China is probably going to consider in a few years if this succeeds for the United States. And the United States will quickly find itself in a situation where I think that the United States under Trump right now is messing with an order that has largely favored the United States, right? I mean, they talk about this as though they've been given the short end of the stick. The fact that these European countries chose to outsource their protection to the United States Is part of what has made the United States the power it is today. They act like they've been given the short end of the stick. Even and this is all without telling you that only the United States within the NATO countries has ever triggered Article 5. Right now, this is a, there are ways you can counter this argument, but factually speaking, only the United States has ever triggered Article 5 amongst those countries. None of those countries have ever asked for aid from NATO before to fight their wars. Only the United States has had that. Only the United States has called for aid from NATO. Canadians died in America's wars. Then Danish people died in America's wars. Just keep that in mind. Anyways, I was saying that Parliament returns. I know that that's a weird kind of like switching gears, but Parliament returns on the 21st. Parliament returns on the 21st. And there are a few interesting things I'll be watching for there. I expect that I think this is going to be the last week or second last week before Pierre Poilievre's leadership review. So I am looking to see what kind of I'm looking to see how Pierre Poilievre shows up in the House of Commons over the next 2 weeks. I expect him to be a little bit more aggressive. I expect him to maybe try and attack some of the things Mark Carney is doing. He's going to try and downplay a lot of the stuff that Mark Carney has done. I mean, as soon as the China deal dropped, Pierre Poilievre posted on X. He was basically pointing to the hypocrisy of Mark Carney, who said that China is the greatest threat to Canada on the campaign trail, but at the same time was here talking about the leadership of China and the new world order. Expect a lot more of that. I don't think it will do a great deal in terms of negatively reflecting on what Mark Carney has done, because I think that personally, I like the way and this is just my opinion on these deals. I like these deals from Mark Carney. I like these deals. Okay, you can have your opinion, you can have your thoughts on it, but I like these deals. The other thing is, so Pierre Poilievre is going to be trying to put himself in the best position possible for his leadership review. We'll see what that looks like. I'll leave you with one point as well. I learned, and this is a little bit of gossip. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but I learned that in the next election, apparently, Pierre Poilievre will not be running in Battle River Crowfoot. He is going to go to a different riding in the next election, and Damien Kurek is going to get his riding of Battle River Crowfoot back. That seems very interesting to me. I'm not sure what's changed there, but it seems kind of weird. I don't know. If Pierre Poilievre going to another riding at this point would be very very it would leave a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know about you. You guys let me know your thoughts. Yeah, so Maple Boy says he will probably critique the China car issue. Of course he will. I think that has been his position, that it's a security risk for Chinese EVs to come here. And to be fair, I think that has always been a silly argument, because our iPhones come from China. If your concern is that they're going to get your data and they're going to track you, well, it's a little late. I bet you more people have iPhones than the people that are going to buy these Chinese EVs. Anyways, that is what I had today. I think we'll cut it short. We don't have to use the rest of the 10 minutes. You guys have been quiet a little bit today. Maybe I've been talking a bit too much. Maybe I haven't given you that much to bite to put your teeth into. But yeah, that is what the show is today. Thank you guys for joining. I'm gonna roll the credits before we get out of here. Maple Boy, thank you for your comments. Fox Club, thank you for your comments. Tenkonku, thank you for your comments. You were really on NATO there, Tenkonku. I don't know. Who else was there? Abby, you were here, but you didn't really talk to us today. Abby was here as well. So I think I got everybody. So thank you guys for joining the show today. If you are new here, yeah, Fox Club said if it makes things cheaper, I say go for it. And this is what I always tell you guys. I am on the part of affordable life in Canada. If we're able to buy 35K cars and it means and they work perfectly fine, you know what? I'm good. You know, we do need to obviously we shouldn't underestimate the security risk of China. Yes, we should go into that with our eyes open. But by all means, please make these deals. That's my perspective on this. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. I'll see if something comes up that I want to talk to you guys about. Obviously, I'll come live. But if not, I'll see you guys next Sunday. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, drop a like on the video, share it around. I'll see you next time. Take care.